Thursday the 20 Thursday the 26th, 2023. My day pretty much started around 4 or 5 p.m. because I finally, I guess, fell asleep. I realized that I napped or dozed off or something for however long, and then got up. Well, I got out of bed after thinking I was laying there for hours and hours, like trying to fall asleep, and then I rolled over and I'm like, wait a minute, I wasn't in the States. Oh my God, I fell asleep. And then I got up, and before I hit the sliding door in my bedroom, I remembered a dream of someone from someone else's family coming to me, like getting my attention, speaking Arabic in the words I remembered and wrote down to sound out um, eventually. And then I thought it meant something, and whether it did or didn't, it wasn't what I expected it to be, and that was okay. And I spent time on a project and was late to a meeting. I've been going to meetings now. Um, I've been to 3 meetings in 3 days. First was NA or AA, and then NA. And I definitely feel way more comfortable at NA. Just the age gap. It's two different environments. People already know that. And I walked in 15 minutes late, and the first speaker, I started listening. First guy that was speaking, they already went through the whole rituals, and it's got to people talking. And I think I got to the first talker by the time I got there, if I judged the timing right. And he started off, and he ended up being the one right next to me when I found a place to sit. There was nowhere to sit. They had to grab a chair. It was packed. I've never seen it that busy in the 3 times I've been to any meetings, but it's been busier and busier in every one I've been to, which is interesting. And like 2 or 3 minutes into it, I'm realizing like everything he's saying is resonating with me. So I found my other phone I use for like audio and games and garbage. Um, and I start using the text feature because I don't have notes open and writing down everything that's said. So he starts off with what his spiel went from acceptance to fighting his own self-hate to being at the right place at the right time. And that's where I started to really log everything I was hearing, because at that point, by the second speaker, and I realized after his second sentence, that I should just start writing down every point that they're making and then go through it after. And this is that. Second speaker was somebody that had a problem with the higher power being an atheist. This was Tomas, actually. Somebody that I actually think we're going to have a connection with because I spoke to him in the last meeting, the first time. Anyway, that was his big point that he really hit on, and absolutely. And then the next speaker was Chris, who really, really made me log everything that was being said. And denial was mentioned so often in his first couple of sentences that was his major point. And he had expectations that he had to accept, that all of his memories of what he knew aren't what they used to be, and he doesn't even trust those as they are. And he's talking about how he's refound himself coming back to AA, and he's been back for months. Like, he lives here, he's a regular, he's not just a rehabber. And how coming back to NA, he's found himself again. I can be me, luckily, with close, similar people. With that, he had to accept his ego was hurt, but he had to acknowledge the new opportunities that were coming to him and surrender to them. And surrender was mentioned in and out of all that. next speaker started off with steps 6 and 7. His desires for something he can't have left him to have a hate obsession with himself because he couldn't get past what he knew he needed to, and was his excuse. Even he said it was the reason why, and then he finally admitted to himself in the group that it was his excuse to why he continued, which that was huge. I was proud of that for him. That his ego, no matter what, really didn't have a voice. That and exceptional. He kept saying, using examples of being exceptional, and he's exceptional, and his exceptional ideas and exceptional examples, and realized that it only was reflecting himself, that you don't reward somebody that wins a bronze, and that was never good enough for him personally to accept a bronze, and now he can without looking at it as though he didn't I wouldn't say win, didn't control. I don't know. That's where I'm going with it. The next person spent most of the time talking about their overwhelming shortcomings. I have to figure out what that means, because that's what was mentioned in 2 minutes that they spoke. Next person spoke of 7 questions of resentments, and I guess this is a practice that I want to Google. And then they mentioned how after they did it, they saw it on paper, and it clicked, is what he said. And then he just doesn't want to be the person that stops using drugs. I want to live. That was his best contribution and he was a great speaker too. Next one has a lot. They were disconnected from the steps for far too long. Then all of a sudden they started coming back, and as soon as they got back, it started coming out of them. And then he says, he never says who, but he says, her conversation is what hit me. And that's what step 3 reminded me of. He had to move past his shortcomings, his self-will, listening to what she was listening to himself, what he was saying. And last year, October 6th, he said, last year is when he started coming back to the program, a month and a half ago. That's my sober date. He realized that self-care is what he's been neglecting, and he needed to appreciate, because she kept telling him, I'm telling you as your sponsor, you need to worry on self-care. It was kind of weird. Yeah, male, female sponsor, you don't do it, but it doesn't matter. He had a great message. He needed self-care to be the best version of himself this time around. So he put his ego aside so he could be strong. I needed to really think of what I'm saying. And when I did, I had an epiphany. He didn't say epiphany, but that's shorter than summing it up. And it felt nice at the end. He said, it felt nice to get that motivation back. And then the meeting ended, and the notes, and just for today. I had that meeting that I needed to hear. People talk about it all the time. I've had, I guess, those before. I've had really good meetings that talk to me, but this is one I needed to hear. After I got done, socialized, to meet new people, say hi, introduce myself. I walked up to my bike around the corner, and there's five baht sitting on the ground. I took a picture of, put it in my wallet with the other baht that I found yesterday on the ground. And talked to one of the other guys as he was getting on his bike with his girlfriend, because I got to ask him about how do you actually physically deposit money into an ATM for your bank account, because I got stuck there even with the translation on screen, it doesn't really tell you, but I needed a specific machine. He says a CDM, cash deposit machine. Look for that and it can be done. That's what I did wrong. Learned that. Drove to 7-Eleven, got something to drink, candy bar, got on my bike, turned on the music, Perfect Circle, Latterus album, first song, The Grudge, came on. Precipice of the song was at the right time at my place on the bridge. And came home to put this here as fast as possible so I can figure out, maybe, if I'm lucky, what it means. And I cried on the elevator before. I definitely cried from the 5 floors to my condo. And I realized that I had counted up to 8 times that I've cried in my adult life. And it took me getting to my door to realize I couldn't remember the number, because I've gotten past counting the times I've cried in my life, which is I don't understand it yet, but I know I'm thankful for it. Listen, I'll do something with this later, I hope.